The unemployment rate in South Africa increased to 27.7% in the first quarter of 2017 from 26.5% in the previous period. It's the highest jobless rate since the first quarter of 2004. Now, the youth are the most affected by this unemployment, which has caused protests in various parts of the country. Analysts have warned that the lack of urgency from government to deal with this catastrophe could fuel a violent uprising.
As South Africa slides into recession for the first time in 8 years, analysts warn that the country's growing unemployment, especially amongst the youth, is a ticking time bomb. According to figures published by Statistics South Africa 2 weeks ago, the unemployment rate increased to 27.7% in the first quarter of 2017, with youth unemployment at a staggering 38.6%, the highest unemployment rate recorded since 2003. The persistence of poverty and joblessness 23 years after the end of apartheid is also stoking anger, with unrest dubbed service delivery protest taking place frequently. 22-year-old Thandeka Ngwenya completed high school 4 years ago. Due to financial constraints, she was unable to pursue higher education, leaving her with no choice but to hunt for a job with no success.
I came here with a mentality of, I'm trying it out. Anything that works, I'm just going to go with it, just to get my foot in there. And I got here, we had an assessment that we had to do. It was quite interesting and very saddening having to see that it was a lot of us. I mean, a group of young people, and discouraging as well.
Youth employment agencies like Harambee are stepping in to try and bridge the gap.
Our young people in this country are very optimistic. So they see very bright futures for themselves, and that's actually really a very encouraging thing. But when they get here, because of that optimism, we have to kind of manage a lot of expectations. We have to say to them, we know that you want this, but there are specific spaces that you need to start.
Unemployment among blacks, by far the largest population group among South Africa's 55 million people, stands at over 30%, compared with just 7% for whites. The ANC party's Secretary General, Gwede Mantashe, says that young people cannot be picky when it comes to jobs during tough economic times.
Dirty, difficult, dangerous jobs are not appealing. Agriculture is not appealing to the extent it should. It's the only sector with mining that have done well. They're not the most attractive sectors for our young people. What we should be doing is to try to encourage our young people to get into a number of sectors and get the exposure and develop their interest.
The expanded definition of unemployment, which includes people who have stopped looking for work, also decreased to 35.6% in the fourth quarter from 36.3% in the previous quarter.
Zimbabwe has banned grain imports to protect local farmers who are producing enough to meet domestic demand. The Deputy Minister of Agriculture made this announcement, which comes just a year after a devastating drought left more than 4 million people in need of food aid. Its grain agency has also raised $200 million from the government and private sector to purchase maize from farmers. The Treasury last week forecast output of the staple maize at 2.1 million tons this year from 511,000 tons in 2016. Well, former Nigerian president and chairman of the Zero Hunger Strategic Forum, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, is encouraging the governments of Benue, Ebonyi and Nasarawa states to lead the campaign on food security. Chief Obasanjo, who was in Benue State, indicated ways food production can be boosted.
Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in company of Governor Samuel Ortom, David Umahi of Ebonyi State, and Senator Abdullahi Adamu, toured the soybean oil mill, fertilizer processing plant, and the Oracle farms. After the tour, the technical session of the Strategic Zero Hunger Forum convenes at the Government House, Makurdi, to appraise the efforts of the Benue State government.
One of the things we have learned, sir, is the genuine and fantastic ways to manage the contentious issues of cow rearing in our country. He had demonstrated that it's possible and it's doable. And so we are encouraged, and we've learned it, and I told my people, this is the way to go.
The host governor lists benefits of the Zero Hunger strategy, which is beginning to impact local investment positively.
Today we went out, the Serap oil mill talked about the challenge they had. Baba, as we left the mill, he put a call across to the central bank governor. And the central bank governor told him to tell the man to bring an application.
Addressing participants on the gains of the session, Chief Obasanjo advised government to encourage entrepreneurial growth instead of active participation in agricultural production.
One of the things that we are not doing well that we should throw out is that government is a poor producer in agriculture. Government should be an enabler, a catalyst, an empowerer, but not a producer. Encourage your entrepreneur among your people.
Food security remains a priority for the Buhari's administration, one which is an achievable goal given adequate and informed involvement from the federal government and private sector.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has promised to revive its peace and conflict resolution mechanism to help address the rising spate of hate speeches in some parts of the country. The Deputy Commandant General in charge of crisis management, who announced the plan at a meeting in Abuja, says this will douse the tension already heating up the polity.
Who may feel unhappy about.
For some weeks now, the issue of secession in the country has dominated public debate. This, to a very large extent, has constituted a threat to the security of lives and property. While the Inspector General of Police and other security agencies in the country promised not to condone any of such threats, it appears more efforts will be needed to achieve this, as officials of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps plan to engage Nigerians on how to resolve their differences without disturbing the peace in the country.
We intensify, we scale up our efforts. We've been doing it before now, it's a mandate. And seeing the trend in the society, we scale up and intensify our effort to make sure that people don't go to war. When I say war, I don't mean real war in the sense of war, but into conflict. We make sure they see themselves as friends, they see themselves as partners, not as adversaries.
Consistent conflict resolution, according to some experts, helps save time and resources. They believe that this must be done regularly, bearing in mind the size and population of the country.
Civil Defense Corps in Nigeria, who is very close to the people, because they don't live in barracks, they live amongst the people, have a very good role to play, to convince the people that they are there for them, that they help them to contain neighborhood peace, whatever peace is needed in order also to continue with the day-to-day business and living and to do as good as possible.
That's Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joker Rogers.